All right, so we are now recording. So again, everybody, thank you so much for this weekend. Again, I'm Cynthia Kane and happy to be your librarian liaison. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is I'm going to actually kind of walk you through the process of a research topic and then where I would actually look for information with the resources that we have at William Allen White Library. I'm also going to be going over such items as interlibrary loan and document delivery because, let's face it, you all may not have an opportunity to be in Emporia, and even if you are here in Emporia, you might not have an opportunity to get over to the library as often as you would like. So I want to make sure that you have a sense of how you can get information and then the access that you have to information, even when you're not physically here as distance education students. So the first thing I am going to do is show you a lot of tips and a lot of shortcuts as we go along. I like to use, and I like to show you all, one of my favorite shortcuts to get to the library's webpage. There are a lot of ways that you can get to it. You can Google it, you can go to the ESU website and then do a few clicks. But the fastest way to get to our library's webpage is to go to emporia.edu/library. And once you've done this, the great thing about this is that you can highlight it as a favorite. As you can see, I have that as a favorite up here on my bookmarks. So you can add it as a bookmark, you can add it to your favorites, and then that way you don't have to worry about navigating all over again. So there are three areas in particular that we're going to focus on for today: the Discovery Search Catalog, the databases, and journals. We're also going to look a little bit down here at a link for interlibrary loan, and I'm going to show you when you would actually want to use that specific link. The first thing, though, I want to bring their attention to is what we have here in our middle here. So we have a lot of ways that you can contact us for any help. I would strongly encourage you, if you have any questions about basically areas of research that deal specifically with SLIM, go ahead and contact me directly. You're not going to bother me at all. And again, I'll make sure that you've got my contact information, and I think you have that from your professors as well. The reason I say that is that right now this is offline because it's on Saturday, but we have different hours of the day that our Ask Us chat feature is available. And when it shows that this is available, then that means that you can chat directly with one of us that's staffing the chat reference. And sometimes I'm on there, and sometimes some of my colleagues are. The chat feature is a really good way of finding out, I would say, quick answers to questions. Do you have access to this article? Do you have access to this book as an ebook? Things like that. The chat feature probably isn't going to be the best way to get answers to in-depth research questions because, again, that can be a little bit difficult when you're chatting back and forth. So use the chat feature if you have a very quick question. If you have something that's a little bit more in-depth for your SLIM class, contact me. We'll email, we'll set up an appointment, and we'll get you all taken care of. You can also call the reference desk. Again, if you had a quick question, it's 620-341-5207, or you can email the reference desk at librev01@emporia.edu. And we also have, if I right-click here to open this link in a new tab, we also have a variety of, we also have a variety of FAQs, or frequently asked questions. So you can type a question in here, and then you might also find the answer that you're looking for in there as well. So lots of different ways of getting help. So as I said, what I want to do today is kind of walk you through the process of looking for books, looking for articles, looking for other kinds of information, including how to browse journals electronically if your professor ever says something such as, why don't you look in the latest issue of Public Library Quarterly? or the latest issue of the Journal of Academic Librarianship, maybe for some ideas on your topic. There are some really good ways of being able to do that as well. So the first tab that I'm going to look at, or the first link, is called the Discovery Search Catalog. And this is basically our library catalog to find out what is owned by William Allen White Library, both in physical print form and in online electronic form. Now, I'm actually sitting here at home. I'm about 5 blocks from campus, but I'm at a distance, I'm off campus. So I'm going to be seeing the very same things that you would when you get into the Discovery Search Catalog. So something you want to do first, go up here to this link and go to Welcome Guest, sign into your institution. The reason we're going to do this is that I need to authenticate myself as being affiliated with Emporia State, even though I'm off campus. So I can do that with my ESU username. This is the very same information that you use with Canvas, by the way. CK1, let me go back over here. And then my username. I always type kind of slowly because I recently changed my password. You know what that's like. Your muscle memory tends to remember your old password. So now I'm logged into the ESU system, and then I can go ahead and do everything as if I were on campus as well. So as I mentioned, the Discovery Search Catalog is going to be your best bet if you want to see what items are owned by William Allen White Library, by the library. Don't use the Discovery Search Catalog if you're searching for a broader topic in which you're looking for articles. And that might seem kind of weird because you might think, well, can't I just put in a search here? Maybe I can find articles on my topic. You'll find articles in the Discovery Search Catalog, but it is actually set up as a discovery search or an EDSU, and some of you might be familiar with that. The idea of a discovery search is that it's actually bringing together a lot of different resources in one federated search. So it's very good for different types of searching. It is not so great if you have a relatively specific topic and you're looking for like scholarly journal articles from a specific discipline. For that type of searching, that's when you really want to go to a database that's targeted and focused upon your subject or discipline. I'm going to show you that next. However, this is what I could use the Discovery Search Catalog for. So I decided that it might be kind of interesting to do research on a topic that I'm actually doing for a literature review. And the topic that I'm working on is something that's kind of a little bit ironic as we start trying to return to somewhat normal in our libraries and other institutions. So about a year and a half ago, one of my colleagues and I wrote an article, and we had it accepted in a scholarly journal about students and the use of physical spaces as far as the library building was concerned, what their space preferences were, where they like to study, why they might not want to come to a physical library building. And it was a lot of fun to do. We did a lot of mixed methods with our research. We had our article accepted, and we got notification that it was going to be published in a future issue of this journal the very week that the Emporia campus shut down in March of 2020 for COVID-19. And I remember looking at this email and I thought, well, that is so ironic. Our article is going to be published about the use of physical library space, and now we have to shut down because of COVID-19. So it was very interesting. So I'm actually interested now in picking up my research again, and my colleague and I want to do some research on the return of patrons to physical library spaces. Are they going to feel comfortable returning? Do they feel comfortable returning? What could make them feel more comfortable, and so forth? So that's what I'm looking for right now. So I might start in the Discovery Search Catalog, and I'm really curious right now to see what books the library might own that would deal with libraries. And I'm doing this kind of slowly because I want to show you what I'm going to wind up doing now. Yeah. So in the Discovery Search Catalog, you're going to see this with other databases as well. My next tip for you is let the database or let the resource help generate keyword searching for you. One of the biggest things about keyword searching in a database is that you want to be aware of synonyms or like terms. If you limit a search too much by one specific term, that's probably all you're going to get. You're going to get resources or items that mention that one specific term. However, if you start typing in a keyword and you start looking for different suggestions with the word or, which broadens your search, that's really going to open up your search. You're probably going to find some good references that might not have appeared if you had just used one specific term. So I'm going to do library or libraries or library services. Something else that I did over here, in any type of database or resource, there is a chance that I may be searching in the complete full text, such as the full text of an ebook or the full text of an article. I am in the habit of limiting a keyword search when I'm doing something like this to say that I want those words as they appear in the abstracts or the summaries of the items. So I tend to do AB abstract. If I don't do that, if I kept that either as select a field or TX for all text, again, I'm going to get references, but it's probably going to call up items or records that mention all of these keywords anywhere, like in the full text of a record, basically just anywhere, and it's just not going to be quite as precise for my information need. We'll go back to abstract. I'm going to go down here now, and I'm going to do space or place. And I'm also going to do another type of advanced searching. Again, this is another tip for more efficient online searching, and we're going to be doing this in another database as well. I put an asterisk after the word space and then also after the word place. I did that because that is a searching technique called truncation. And that might be familiar to some people and it might be new to others. Basically, truncation is asking the resource or the database to look for the root word and then any variant endings of that word. So I could get space or spaces, place or places, any other variant endings. That's also a very good way of sort of expanding your search so that you have a chance of finding some items that you might not get otherwise. So now we're going to go down here. Again, I'm sort of starting my literature review. I'm curious to see first if the Emporia Campus Library has any print books on this. And those of you who are distance education students, you might think, well, why is Cynthia looking for print books? I don't live in Kansas. I should have a reason for this, and I'm going to tell you in just a second. Let that search. And I have some results. Something that I do very much as well when I am looking at any type of information, especially for a literature review or for a research project, I look to see when something was actually published. So we have a book here that looks like it might have some possibilities. It was published in 2010. This one looks like it has some real possibilities. This was published in 2018. And it's talking about library values to emerging technology. So that might be actually good for my literature review because I might want to look at how technologies are affecting or how they have affected the use of the physical library building by patrons. If you can get more access electronically, do people really want to come into a physical library building? Why or why not? This is a print book. We actually are starting to move to the Library of Congress classification system with some of our items. So that's why you see this book up here that has the Dewey Decimal Call number, and then this one has the Library of Congress call number. So I wanted to pause on this one for just a second because it's a print book. But even though it is a print book, I can still look at the abstract and see if that's something that I would want. And since this is a print book that's owned by William Allen White Library, this is a good chance for me to go back over here. So if you're here in Emporia, you are very welcome to come in and retrieve the book and then check it out from the library. But if you don't live in Emporia, which I know affects many, many of you, you can actually still get a copy of this print book because you have equitable access to information. So if you find a print book that's owned by the Emporia Campus Library, what you would want to do is keep this tab open, go down here, and go to this link called Interlibrary Loan, which I'm sure a lot of you have done at other colleges and other universities. You would log into our interlibrary loan system with your same username and password that you use for Canvas. I'm going to see if this one good. I remembered my new password. So the first time that you have done interlibrary loan, if you've not done this before through our library, you're going to get a screen right before this one, and it would ask you to enter your personal information, basically your name, your mailing address, your e-number, and then your g.emporia.edu account. So if I want to retrieve a book, and I want this book that's owned by the Emporia Library to be mailed to me, I'm going to go to Book under New Request. And in this instance, what I would have to do is actually go back to that record of the book, and I would have to copy and paste as far as that library catalog is concerned with the information about the book. When we switch in just a second to one of our databases dealing with library and information science, you'll see that databases actually integrate with this system, so you don't have to do a lot of copying and pasting. But what you would do here is copy and paste the information about the book that's owned by our library. Go over here. Where did you find this item cited? This is where you could say that it's from the library catalog owned by the ESU library. And under notes, if you need to have this book mailed to you, make a note on here that you are a distance education student with ESU and you do need to have the book mailed to you. It's totally free as far as the mailing out to you is concerned. You would need to actually mail it back to the library, and you would have to pay the mailing fee back. I'm really sorry about that. I wish we could afford a prepaid label, and it just doesn't happen. If any of you are here, though, elsewhere in Kansas, and if you have public libraries or academic libraries that are on a courier system, the chances are good that you could return that book through the courier to our library because we are on a couple of courier systems as well. So I am going to move this here. I'm going to close this tab. And I'm going to go back to my result list. Well, that worked as far as print books are concerned. But now I really want to see if we have any ebooks in the library. And I know that many of you are using or have access to at least one, if not more, ebooks that you're using as textbooks for 801 and then also for other classes. So the thing about ebooks is that a library, in terms of ebooks, especially the ones that we have access to, we try to purchase ebooks whenever we're purchasing any individually that have something called unlimited access. And unlimited access just means exactly that. There's an unlimited number of users that can read the ebook online or check it out off and to read it offline for 14 days. However, that's actually set by the publisher. So something you're going to learn a lot in your SLIM curriculums is that publishers and vendors actually have a lot of authority when it comes to those types of access points. If we have a book that has only 3 simultaneous users, which happens with some of our textbooks, we do not have a way, unfortunately, of overcoming that. And so we have to find some creative ways of getting you the information that you need. But what I'm going to do here is change my search to ebooks, because I really want to see. Oh, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. Here's a book called Planning Our Future Libraries. It's Blueprints for 2025. It was published in 2014 before the advent of COVID, but it might be good. I might be able to get some background information from that. User Studies for Digital Library Development, that was published in 2012. Again, I'm sort of looking to see when these were actually published. So some of these might be a little bit more dated than others, but we're going to go back up here. So I'm going to go to PDF full text. Let that load. When you're searching for an ebook through the catalog, you can come over here, and then under ebook availability, this will show you if it is limited like to 1 simultaneous user or 3 simultaneous users, or in this case, this one does have unlimited copies available. So as you probably know from other ebooks, I could read this online, or I could come over here and I could download a chapter, 100 pages max, but I could download a chapter in PDF and then be able to read that chapter offline. Now, since this is actually, though, a book that has unlimited users, this would actually be a really good candidate for me if I decided that I wanted to check this out offline. Now, some of you may make great use of your public libraries or state libraries that have ebook collections. Here in Kansas, the State Library of Kansas has something called Cloud Library, which is great for recreational reading. And then our library here in Emporia, the public library, has access to a consortium that's called Sunflower eLibrary, and I do a lot of my recreational reading through Sunflower eLibrary. I really love that. This is going to be the same kind of concept if you're used to using ebooks from your library for recreational reading. What I want to do here, and this part can get a little bit tricky because it's not obvious on the screen. I wish it were, but it's not. I'm going to go to full download. And this is asking me now to do something called sign in to my EBSCOhost account. And that might be something you've never seen before. We're going to come back to this when we do our databases. All that means is that I have to sign into or create an account to borrow a copy of this ebook. And I'm going to go ahead and let that load. Now, something I could do here, though, which is actually a really nice shortcut, I could click on Continue with Google, and I can sign into an EBSCOhost account with my emporia.edu or g.emporia.edu address. So I don't actually have to create a whole separate account with a different password that I need to remember. Now, again, this is the part that can get just a little bit tricky. I could borrow a copy of this ebook for a maximum of 14 days. So that's what I'm going to do. I can download it as a PDF or as an EPUB, but it looks like this is just going to do PDF. But notice something I did here. I might not even know what Adobe Digital Editions is, but click on this box anyway and say, I have Adobe Digital Editions downloaded. This is the one part that's a little bit tricky with these ebooks. The ebooks that we're using through EBSCOhost, our service EBSCOhost, actually interface with a software program that's called Adobe Digital Editions. So you would want to download Adobe Digital Editions as a free download on your tablet or computer or other device. And it is compatible with Apples, with Macs, or with Windows. So you just want to download the digital edition that matches what you have. And I'm going to close this tab. I have Adobe Digital Editions already on my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. And then I'm going to make sure that I switch to another screen so that you can see what this is going to look like. So I'm going to pull something up here and then I'm going to switch to another screen. I'll do a new share. There we go. Make sure that is, yes, that should be showing up. And it's kind of downloading in the background. This is one that I had already checked out and it expired. So I want to click on OK. And we're going to make sure that you are seeing this. Yes, perfect. Okay, so I've checked out a copy of this ebook. I can read it offline for 14 days. And because it is available offline, this is going to let me do things on this copy, such as do any bookmarks. I can check the table of contents. I think I need to do something else here in the background. There we go. Okay. I can check the table of contents. I can navigate. And again, since I had this book checked out offline, I can take this with me without an internet connection and then read this. When I'm done with it, I can either go ahead and return it, or it will just expire after 14 days and I won't have access to this anymore. You don't have to do this. I honestly think it depends on what you are comfortable in terms of access to the ebook. Again, since this one has unlimited copies available, this is great to be able to check out. If you are using an ebook that has only 3 simultaneous users, you might not want to actually check out a copy of that ebook because then that's going to be unavailable for other people to look at and share, so it's rather limited. If you have an ebook that has 3 simultaneous users, I would go ahead and maybe download a chapter of the book that you need and then exit so that somebody else could get access to that copy. So I'm going to close this tab. Go back over here. I'm going to close this tab. And we're going to move on now to our databases. And I know that a lot of you in your undergraduate work and maybe other graduate work as well have probably used databases or online resources to find articles for different topics. We have a lot of databases. In reality, the databases that you use from William Allen White Library are probably going to vary according to your information need. For example, if some of you start studying more about library management, you'll probably want to look at databases in business and economics as well as library-related databases. But what I want to do is give you a good introduction to one database in particular and show you how you can search that. So under all subjects, I'm going to library and information science. And you can see my contact information, which I think you have in different venues as well. You can always email me at ckane1 emporia.edu, or you can call or leave me a voicemail at 620-341-5480, and I will be very happy to help you. We're not going to go into this one in the interest of time, but I wanted to highlight one up here. So in SLIM, the style that you're going to be using for writing your papers and doing other projects is the American Psychological Association, APA style for short. There are a lot of resources that are out there to help you with APA style. There's the print manual, but we also subscribe to a resource called Academic Writer. An academic writer is directly from the American Psychological Association. And so what you're getting is the vetted, correct information for all aspects of APA style. Academic Writer will help you learn how to format a reference list in APA style. It will help you check your references. And there's a part in Academic Writer that contains a series of paper templates that you can use to write your papers so that they're formatted correctly in APA style, and it will also help integrate in-text citations and your references lists. If you'd like to know more about Academic Writer, we have a tutorial playlist here on YouTube, and many of the tutorials on here are ones that I have recorded to show you how to use Academic Writer. So you can definitely check these out and contact me if you ever want to know more about using Academic Writer. It's probably one of my favorite resources. And we have a lot of other sources here, but the one I'm going to focus on next is called Library and Information Science Source. This is going to be my go-to source when I want to find articles on topics in the LIS field. So I can use the Discovery Search Catalog if I'm looking for things like print books, ebooks, known items, but now I want to search for articles. So we're going to click on this. And something you're going to notice, since I was already in the Discovery Search Catalog and I logged in with my ESU username and password, as long as I'm in the same session and I don't exit everything completely, I'm not going to have to log back in again with my ESU username and password. If I hadn't done this, when I clicked on Library and Information Science Source, it would have asked me to log in and to authenticate with my ESU username and password. So a couple of things I'm going to do right off the bat. And again, these are my hints to really save you time in terms of searching. The first thing I am going to do is go up here to something called Sign In, even though I'm already in the database. And this is going to look familiar. I'm going to sign back into my EBSCOhost account like I did when I wanted to check out that ebook. I'm going to continue with Google. Continue here. And we'll let that do its thing. And up here, it's reminding me that I'm logged in. This actually reminds me that I had that ebook checked out, by the way. So why in the world did I need to sign in with an EBSCOhost account? You don't have to do this in a database, but it's kind of like when somebody tells you, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I really recommend that you do this. My mother was always very good at that. I really want you to do such and such. So the reason that I would want you to sign into your EBSCOhost account is that from now on, everything you do in this database, when you find an article, you can save it to a folder of information, and I have items in here already, and those items or those articles will not go away until you decide that you want to delete them from your folder. This is such a time saver. It's going to save you from having to remember, did I download that article to my computer? Did I save it to Google Drive? Did I email it? What did I do with that? It really is a time saver in terms of information. I'm now going to go to an advanced search. And this is kind of my next tip. So in an advanced search, we're going to do what I did in the Discovery Search Catalog. I'm limiting my search to the abstract because I want my keywords to appear in the abstract or the of the articles, not the full text. I'm going to scroll down here. Library and Information Science Source has a lot of articles that are both scholarly journal articles, but they also have like some general magazine articles, newsletters, and so forth. Very often your SLIM professors are going to want you to limit your search just to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. And if you have that happen, go ahead and click on this checkbox. There is a place where I could limit my results just to the full text of articles as they appear in this database, but I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to show you in just a second why I would not want to. So I'm still interested in the use of the physical library building by students. But since COVID-19 has affected so much, I want more current information now on that. So now we're going to do library or libraries or library services or librarianship or information services. And I'm going to type in COVID-19. And you see what's happening now. I could do COVID-19 or coronavirus or all the other synonyms. And we're going to go ahead and search. And because this is a relatively new topic, but it's also been studied, we're getting some scholarly journals that have already been published on this. If you want to limit by language, you can limit that way if you want. And I'm not too surprised. Okay, here's a possible one. The impact of COVID-19 on the use of academic library resources. Let's see what this one has to say. And it's recent. Its date is June 1st, 2021. And that looks like that might have some possibilities. It may not be talking specifically about physical library space, but it is talking about the changes in use of library resources. So I think that might be good for my literature review. I want to make sure I don't lose this. I'm going to go over here to this little deal that says add folder. And I just added the link to this PDF of the article so I can get back to it in my folder of information. And we're going to go back to that in just a second as well. Now you're going to notice me doing something over here. I'm not going to click on this back button. The reason is that I'm logged into this database. And so it's kind of logged in behind the scenes. If I just clicked on this back button, there is a chance that I'm trying to go back to a previous page, kind of the same thing that happens if you fill out a form and if it times you out. It might well kick me out of my search and I'd have to start all over again. So this is kind of my next tip for you. When you're in a database, use the navigation tools within the database. So I'm going to go back to result list. And that keeps you logged into the database and won't kick you out. So I've got some good ones here. And I'm going to keep scrolling down. I really want to read some of these. Okay, this next one, number 8, is a perfect example of what I wanted to show you next. So this is looking kind of interesting. During and post COVID-19 practices of a regional academic library. I would really like to read this. I think this could help for my lit review. But one thing you're going to notice here, there's no link here and no link within the record to the full text of the article. So the reason is that this particular journal has not been made available in full text within this specific database. But there's a very good possibility that we have access to this journal. We might subscribe to it individually as an e-journal. So, next tip. I want to see if I can find this article in another resource through our library. And this part is not very intuitive. So I want to make sure you're comfortable with it. I copied the title of the article. I didn't copy the title of the journal, but the title of the article. And because everything opens in a new tab, I still have my original tab over here for the libraries and archives page, which I really need. Now I'm going to go back to the Discovery Search catalog. Because that catalog can also be used to find known items, such as the full text of articles, maybe from other databases. And I'm going to paste the title of this article. And even though it wasn't readily available in Library and Information Science Source, we have access to it because we have a separate online journal subscription to this journal. So if I click on PDF and let that load, there's the article. So this is why I didn't limit. Go back over here. I'm going to go back to result list. This is why in this database, I didn't limit just to the full text, because if I had limited just to the full text available through this database, I would have totally missed that article. So be sure that you do that, copy and paste the title of the article if it's not readily available in full text, and see if we have it. If we did not have this article, so if I had copied and pasted the title of the article and it didn't pop up in the discovery search, which can happen in many instances, getting a lot of really good ones here. I'm going to use this one as an example. So I'm going to say, in the interest of time, that I checked this one and we didn't have it. That is not showing up the way that it should, so I'm going to go in a different way. Okay. So again, I'm just going to say, in the interest of time, that I checked the title of this article and we did not have it available in our library. I'm going to go to this link for interlibrary loan this item and log in again. If you do interlibrary loan or need to do interlibrary loan for an article within a database with that interlibrary loan link, it will actually populate the form for you. So that doesn't happen in the discovery search, but it does happen within databases. It usually takes, I would say, maybe about a couple of working days, a couple of business days, maybe shorter than that, to get a copy of an article from interlibrary loan. It'll be sent to your email address as a PDF version, and there's no charge for that. So we're not charging for the copies of articles or anything. Please, please use this feature, because we want to make sure that you have access to the items that you need. I'm going to close this out. So I'm going to go up to this folder now, because I wanted to show you. I've been doing a lot of searching for a lot of different topics, as you can see. So within any of these articles in the folder or in the database, you can go to a cite feature. This is actually going to be a really good example. Now, a cite feature in a database will generate a citation or a reference for you in a variety of citation styles. However, your professors are going to say the same thing that I would say. And I'm just using this example, which is another type of article. Notice that this was converted into APA style, but it has some errors in it. There are certain words in the title of the article that were capitalized in the bibliographic record, but they would actually have to be put in lowercase for correct APA style. So to summarize, the cite feature is wonderful to help generate a reference that you can copy and paste into a working bibliography, but please make sure that you are proofing all of those references, maybe with Academic Writer or with the APA publication manual, to see if any corrections need to be made because they may not be 100% accurate. So I'm kind of watching my time here because I also want to make sure that we have time for questions. So really quick, I'm going to go back to the library's webpage, and the last thing I wanted to show you is this link for journals. So you would not want to use this link for journals if you're searching for articles on a topic. That's when you would want to go to the Library and Information Science Source database. But this link for journals is incredibly handy if you want to browse the tables of contents and issues for different journals. So I'm going to do Public Library Quarterly. I'm just going to use this one as an example. We have an online journal subscription to this. So we have the most current issues. And this would be the table of contents for volume 40, issue 5. Or I could go to any of these other issues. And then I could click on the download PDF to look at any of these articles. This is a wonderful way of generating ideas for topics. If you are looking for a topic for one of your classes and you just kind of want to see what's out there, you can go to the journals link, and then from here, you can search for the title of a journal, maybe one that your professor suggests to you, and you can browse the tables of contents and kind of get some ideas of current research in the field. What's the current trends out there that are being talked about and being published? I'm going to close some of these tabs right now. I'm going to go up here. I see we have a couple of things in chat that I want to check. But before we do that,